Mending family ties in immigrant household with depressed video game addicted older brother 25M and aggressive younger sister 17F. This is going to be long, I'm sorry. It is my first Reddit post, and I feel desperate. I'm just wondering if anyone here has ever mended their family ties? To give context, me 22F, my older brother 25M, and younger sister 17F grew up in an immigrant household. My brother and I are immigrants. Sister first gen with both mother and father around. Overall, we had a happy childhood. We had family friends and my mother's first cousin living in the same city as us, with her 2 children around the same age as my brother and I. Fast forward a couple of years, there was family drama and an ending of the family friend group that we had due to petty fights between moms, and we stopped having contact with these people. I was a pretty extroverted child, as was my sister, but my brother was pretty introverted. He had great interests as a child. He loved astrology, reading, and knew everything about cars. My sister loved drawing, as did I, making slime, and reading as well. She's an excellent writer. I had a good relationship with both of them, sometimes getting into fights, but nothing really abnormal. We would go outside to play all of the time, and I would take my sister to the pool with me and my friends during the summer. My brother then got very into video games in high school. It was more of a hobby then, which I think is good and healthy. His grades were still good and he was on the volleyball team, so he was socializing and fit. His work ethic was not good though, as he would wait until the last minute to finish his assignments. When he was applying to colleges, I remember he didn't really want to do anything. It was a big fight between him and my parents. He started college as a commuter, but this was a pretty difficult time for him and he got pretty depressed. He still had the same work ethic and studying habits that he had in high school. My mother then started to deal with depression, as she was close to my brother and became socially isolated at this time. Her age didn't help, and she started dealing with sciatic pain. I then felt like I had to help her, so I would help her with the house, my sister, and the garden. I enjoyed these things, as I feel my nature is pretty nurturing. I love children and found a love in gardening during this time as well. I worked in retail when I was 17, and have been working in the restaurant industry for about 2 years now. My brother never had a job. My brother was always the golden child and got most of the attention and praise, which I didn't mind because in a way it was motivation for me to do well and live up to him. I was still close with him and my sister during his college years. He graduated with a degree in mechanical engineering in 3 years, and everyone was so proud of him. This was the year I started at the same college as him, but for biochemistry as I was pre-med. This was the year COVID started. My sister was 12, and I was 18, and my brother 21. My brother didn't apply to any jobs after graduation and would just sit at home playing video games. He played for a year and a half, and my parents got frustrated at him for just sitting at home doing nothing. I spoke to him during this time, and he said he was severely depressed during college, and on the first day he knew he didn't want to do it and wanted to drop out instead. I couldn't understand him, as I always saw education as a privilege and gaining knowledge, learning was so rewarding for me. Think Malala. My parents told him he had to get a job or go for his master's. He ended up applying for his master's in computer science, and finished that in 2 years. Since then, December 2022, he has just been in his room locked away playing video games all night and sleeping all day. My mother has been dealing with depression since he started college, and it took a toll on me during COVID trying to help her. This in turn took a toll on my younger sister as we shared the same room and we had a very close relationship. I ended up developing an eating disorder during the time of COVID, I think due to bad stress management, and I was depressed and weighed close to nothing. I ended up graduating with my undergraduate degree in biochemistry a year early like my brother, but at the end of my studies I decided I could not become a doctor. I studied for my MCAT and was working on applications and all that, but looking forward, I felt the path of becoming a physician did not align with what I wanted in life. The 4 years of medical school was fine with me, as I love medicine and would study it for the rest of my life if I could, but the hours in residency and the non-existent balance between work and life during those years along with the debt of medical school was not something I could justify doing. I wanted to become a mother sooner rather than later, which feels stupid now as I don't even have a boyfriend, and the disloyalty I've seen in men, not my father, makes me have trust issues. I was lost and wasn't in a good mental state to begin with. Then, my best friend's American turned on me and isolated me, which made me feel even worse. My sister then became the person that I trauma dumped to, which I see was not a good thing, and she started to become aggressive and took turns on who she would isolate in my family. First it was my dad, then my brother, then my mother, then me. She had phases of who she would consider a friend, and who she hated. It was hard on my whole family. During June of 2022, my grandfather-mother's side became ill with sepsis due to an untreated UTI. He was a farmer and hated the doctor, and she went back to our country for the first time in 20 years. I wanted to go with her, but I had to stay back and take care of my sister. When she came back after my grandfather's death and funeral, my grandmother was all alone, so I went back to my country to stay with her as her caretaker until she passed in November. During that time, I worked on myself and became healthier. It was easier because I had so much family around, and I made new and great friends who I could relate to. The culture is a lot less stressful and on the go than American culture, so I found myself seeing the beauty in life like I did as a child. I was in the village surrounded by nature, which I love, and I finally felt like I fit in, whereas in America I never really fit in. When I came home, my sister was still not talking to me. Fast forward to recently, I am in a great place mentally and physically. I am back to my normal weight, although I do have issues with my hormones due to my former ed, which makes me scared that I am infertile. I am in school in a direct entry master's in nursing program, working as a server on weekends, and volunteering with the elderly community with a few very close friends that I love. I've done a lot of self-work, and have the mindset of not letting my past define me or stop me from bettering myself. My relationship with my family members is pretty great, individually. My sister is doing better mentally, as she dropped some friends feeding her depression, made some new friends in high school, is working as a host in the restaurant I work in, and has taken up martial arts. She is a very bubbly and laughy person, but she can be very cold if she hates you. Her relationship with my mother and brother are still very rocky. My mother still deals with depression due to my brother's wasted potential, although I think I have helped since coming back because I feel much stronger and know now what I have to do to stay strong for my family and for myself. I understand my sister with both of them. I was also initially frustrated with my mother around my sister's age, but I understand what my mother has gone through. My sister deems her as crazy, which I told her was wrong. Her and my brother were never very close, and I feel for her frustratio. And with him, he is always in his room playing video games, never helping around the house, and gets mad at her when she says mean things to my mother. I, too, was frustrated with him. However, I know now that the only thing I can really do is fix myself. I can't fix others if they don't want to change. I understand him in a way too. I think that he blamed school for his depression, but I think he still deals with it in a way today, and video games is his outlet. When me and him were her age, we would not even think about saying half of the things she says to my parents. I caught my siblings in a screaming match one day when they thought I had left the house. He was screaming at her about being a b. I hate curse words. I think they feed anger because she called my mother and brother fat that morning for eating some leftovers we had, which I think is terribly wrong on two fronts, as one should never say this to another person, let alone their own family, and all of the food we have is for everyone, not just for one person, and she was screaming at him to tell her what he wanted to say for the past 17 years. I intervened and started telling them that it was wrong to be screaming at each other, and that we have to be there for each other because we are siblings. We are each other's first best friends in life, and no one else will understand what we went through together. My sister and I also recently had an argument because she told me that my mother and father were very hard on her for her schooling as a child, and that she remembers my mother about to throw a chair at her because of some bad grade, but that I stopped her from throwing it. I don't remember this happening ever. I remember that me and my brother were disciplined as children, and that I would get the most punishment because I was a more mischievous child, and they were hard on us for school, but I knew it was for our better. Remember Malala? She was much younger than us, so their parenting changed significantly by the time she was born. As a child, she never got hit. I think that she might believe that this actually happened, and the feeling of fear was probably true, but this scene did not happen. My parents were older when they had her, so they were not as playful as they were with us as children, but they did their best. I would always try and give her everything I never had at her age, buying her food and taking her shopping. However, she now eats some form of fast food every day, takes my dad to buy her snacks that she won't share with us, which I told my dad is not okay, even if it is a bonding moment between them which he clings onto. He should teach her to share, and she has no interest in dressing up like she did as a child. She used to change her outfit 3 times a day, always fashionable. I don't think the fashion thing is a big deal, but I want to give her all of the clothes I wished for at her age. TLDR. Anyways, after all that, has anyone ever dealt with a bright child older brother turning into a video game addict with no drive? And a younger sister with aggression and resentment towards family? I want to believe that my sister will get better. I think she should go on vacation with my mother to our home country this summer, as we have cousins her age, and she can see how happy my mother is in our country instead of the depressed version she is in America. As for my older brother, can I do anything to help him see that life is far more beautiful with real-world social connections, that work can be rewarding whatever it is that he wants to do, and that his past does not define him or who he could be even if it takes a lot of self-reflection and work? If so, how can I do this? Or is it better for me to just focus on my own life, make the goals I want happen, and pray, hope they can find the contentment I have found in life? I don't want to intrude too much, but I want to help them. Family is a very important value in my life, and I think it is for them as well.